Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. As you all know, the last video of me racing my brother-in-law, I had an intake leak. So today, that's what I'm gonna be working on. So I'm going to try to take just the upper manifold, the upper intake of the throttle. So basically this is the lower intake, upper intake, throttle, and then of course the Grady elbow with the intercooler piping. So I'm going to try to take this 3 section at one time, and then the tricky one would be that one because it has 3 bolts on the bottom. So I'm going to try to tackle it without taking the down pipe out. Let's see how it goes. Hopefully it comes out nicely. So it was the lower intake that blew a gasket right here and a little bit here, but as you can see, it's probably going bad. So hey, for 4 years, not bad. So I just gotta buy a new one. I gotta scrape this off. I also gotta scrape over there, make it clean. New intake gasket. This engine has been running on 4 injectors only. I have 2 primaries and 2 secondaries, but the corner ones I have it as a block off. But if I do want to in the future, I will activate these 2. On top of that, I have 2 more that I could put injectors here. So in total, I could have 8 injectors on this engine. But for the future, little by little, no rush, we'll get there. Scraped all that old stuff off. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the engine. I'm gonna clean this a little bit up more with a brake cleaner. Got the intake all nice and clean. Got the new gasket for the lower intake. Already cleaned that off, all smooth, just like the intake. I'm going to put a little bit of gray ultra silicone, just light layered. Wait a few minutes, put the gasket on. Then I'm gonna put a little bit of silicone on the gasket. Wait a few minutes, like 1 or 2, just so it could get a little bit harder, but not too hard, then it doesn't work. So that's the process. Silicone a little bit, wait a few minutes, then put the gasket on. Put a little bit of silicone on this, wait a few minutes, then put this on. Hand tight just a little bit on the screws. Wait a few minutes and then tighten it all up so it could be all nice and squished and ready to go. Okay guys, so I got the intake gasket installed. I already put gray silicone in between the block and the gasket, and then the gasket and with the lower intake. And then tomorrow I'm going to spray paint that gasket, which it goes up here, with the copper spray gasket. Leave it a few minutes, installed it, but I'm going to leave this overnight so it could dry up and get nice and tight. But I'm going to cover this because we don't want nothing falling in there, because if it falls in here, it's going straight to the engine and the engine could go kaboom. Got my little booth all nice and ready. I'm going to spray it with some copper spray gasket. Says about 8 to 10 inches away. Spray evenly, both sides. Good as new, like nothing ever happened. All right, now that I left that overnight, I just spray painted the gasket that goes in between the lower intake and the upper intake. But before I install the upper intake, I'm going to take advantage to fix this right here. This is where I feed the oil. I bought this after they did this. Didn't know, but it happens. As you can see, they rub right underneath there, and that's not good. Over time, one of these is going to create a hole. Who knows? There's probably a hose on this one. I'm losing boost leak. So I'm going to fix this oil feeder. This is for an RX-7, which it works same thing. Rotary, all the same thing. I just need either to cut it there, twist this lower, or cut this up here lower and re-weld that so it could come down a little bit lower so it won't hit the intercooler piping. Now I'm going to install the upper intake with the gasket in between and put everything back together. See if it turns on. Can you please explain this to me? Why does this happen every time? I can't find the screw that goes there. I put everything nicely here just so I won't lose anything. And for some reason, magically, it disappeared. I cannot find it. And guess what? It's the number 10. Why? After 10 minutes looking, I looked under the car. I looked in the gaps right there. How does that get there? How? Explain to me how this got there. I put everything nicely right here and somehow it fell over there. Why is the number 10 always running away? So I checked the fuel pump. All the wiring is good underneath. Nothing looks melted. All the connections are still good. Nothing's loose on the wiring, the power, the ground. But I did find the relay a little bit melted here. I'm hoping it still was the relay. But I did change the relay for a new one. I was going to leave the car running for a few minutes, but I'm low on gas. And the gas station doesn't have E85. So I got to wait until they get E85, put some fuel in it, and leave it running for 10-15 minutes. See if it doesn't turn off. Hopefully it was just the relay. So right now I'm going to back up the car, turn it on. I don't have much gas. I just want to make sure that everything's good in the engine, that no leaks, the RPMs are good. So let's hope everything works fine. So everything was good on the gasket. RPMs are good, but fuel pump is still acting up. I left the car running for 5-10 minutes, turned it off, try to turn it back on. The fuel pump doesn't turn on. If I bang it, it turns back on. Let's see if we could do it. So the car's on. If I tap on it, it turns on, turns back off. So I think the fuel pump is bad. The RX-7 is down for a few months until I get a new fuel pump.